all the dignitaries, all the distinguished persons present, and ladies and gentlemen, and all the young mind. Good evening to you all. I really do not know what I am supposed to speak here. The topic, this Changemakers Conclave, Sustainable Development, do more, rest less. As a policeman, we keep on doing more and more. There is hardly any rest. Even today, we have very big procession. Our fellows, they are estimating that 1.5 lakh to 2 lakhs people are there on the roads. Eid Milad procession today. Sometimes policemen, they have this 12 hours duty, but when they reach home, it is 14 to 15 hours. They keep on working, but people still are not satisfied. People are not able to appreciate how difficult police job is and how important, how significant is the maintenance of law and order for a sustainable development. That is why, unfortunately, in India, police has not become a subject of planned development. It's unplanned development, ad hoc development. And that is why a lot of problems our country is facing today. When we talk about I am not an economist. I am a simple policeman. Not a professor in college. But I have my own ideas about the development. I am not speaking from any books. I am speaking from my experience. I consider the sustainable development means physical, mental, spiritual development as a public welfare on a sustainable level, utilizing the natural resources for a long time to come. But for this kind of the development to take place, what is must? We must have a very good education. What kind of education we must have? Our principal is here, I think, Honorable Principal of St. Xavier, very prestigious college here. He knows better than me in the field of education. But I have my own ideas about education. Some people, they have criticized me about 2 weeks back. How can a police commissioner comment on education? He is not qualified, he is not competent. Only professors can comment on it, only principals can comment on it. That are the ideas of the people. A reporter can comment on anything. According to me, our education must cater to the requirements of head, hands, and heart. If it is not catering to the requirements of all these things simultaneously, something is amiss in our education. Our education must be rooted in the culture where you are born, the country you love, and it must be oriented towards development, sustainable development. Our education must provide the amenities and opportunities for our physical development, mental development, spiritual development. It must inculcate the values of righteousness, not religiosity, not rituals, but righteousness. It must give the courage, it must give the conviction to follow what is right. Also, the education must give the control of the mind. I have been speaking on various forums nowadays. You know what has happened in Delhi and what is happening all over the world, not only in India. We are talking about the increasing atrocities and crime against the women. Why it is happening? When we talk about development, we talk about air. There is air pollution, there is water pollution, there is a soil pollution. But the worst form of the pollution is pollution of the mind. Are we thinking about it? How to purify this mind? This mind does not get polluted. How can we purify the mind? Only good ideas can purify the mind. See, you have different kind of detergent, different kind of the soaps, cleaning agents. If you have to wash your clothes, you require soap, you require surf. If your hands are soiled with some kind of grease, some kind of this other, you require something else, some other kind of the liquid solvent. But if your mind is polluted, the simple detergent will not work. You have to find out some different kind of detergent. And that detergent must come from our education institutions. It must be given at home by our parents to our children. We call it sanskar. We call it basic values, life values. If we want to have the sustainable development, we must be able to give that kind of the education. And our country, our system must be able to give very, very good defense system. It includes police, it includes military on the borders. Well, what kind of police? Well trained, well equipped. The police which must have the empathy of the complainant come to the police station. Similarly, our science and technology, the country where there is no science and technology, where there is no experiments, cannot have sustained development. How to have that? India claims to have, perhaps, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, perhaps one of the largest number of the PhDs created by India. But what is our contribution to the world education? Very, very negligible. That reflects on the quality of the education we provide in our education system, education institutions. Then, fourth thing about our thing is, I don't know whether all of you will agree or some of you will agree with me, we require a belief, unflinching belief in some power. This power could be this fear of the law, it could be fear of the supernatural power, but there must be there. If we have a system, we have a belief system, that if you do this kind of the wrong, and you believe in a particular religious ritual, your sins will be expiated, you will be purified. It doesn't deter you from committing further crime or further sin. So there must be a system, there must be a belief system which can reinforce this. There is somebody, there is some power, whether you call it law, natural law. If you believe in the natural law, some people will call it is God, whether it's supernatural power or you have the law of the land. But it must be enforceable. It must be equal. Sometimes what happens in our sustainable development, I call it the justice of lion and lamb. The justice, suppose somebody is committing a theft of 100 rupees, he is also awarded the same kind of punishment, is convicted by the court, and the other person who has committed a theft of 100 crores, he also undergoes the same kind of punishment. Question answer, oh, I'm sorry, I have extended my brief. She is telling my time is up. I have lot many ideas to share with you. Just to sum up the whole thing, If we want to become the change maker in this society, we must become change ourselves. What kind of change? There must be three basic things in a change maker. We must have the confidence, self-confidence. How will this self-confidence will come? This confidence must be exuded. It must be reflected all around. Yes, you are confident. I am confident. If you are not well, you are not physically fit, if you are not mentally alert, if you are not mentally equipped with the kind of the knowledge you require, you cannot be self-confident. How to improve that every day, your confidence? You must have the commitment to the cause. What is the cause you want to serve? The public cause? What are your personal cause? Business cause? You must have the commitment to that. And this commitment must also be reflected all around you. And the third thing is, you must develop that art of communication. What kind of art of communication? Basically, there are three kinds of communicators. One communicator can motivate you, can move you. Yes, today the police commissioner was here. Oh, he has affected me. I should do something about it. I must think about it. There must be some speaker, some orator, which can motivate you. No, he's right. I must do this thing. But there are some communicators who can master the audience. How to move from moving to the motivate and to the master. This art of communication, if we want to be real leader, real change maker, these things must be inculcated in our day-to-day life. With these words, I think I end here. I must give some time for question answers. I'm grateful to the organizers for inviting me. Otherwise, nobody invites a policeman for such a kind of intellectual gathering. Policemen are generally, they are not well educated. People have that kind of impression. Thank you very much.
We have time now for 2 questions.
Only 2 questions, okay? Yes, please. Good evening.
I had a couple of questions.
They are only allowing 2 questions.
Okay. I'll bring it down to one.
Just one, please.
So my question is that you yourself said the police does a lot of work. They work for 15, 16 hours a day. And yet the police in Mumbai and the youth are so widely divided. I think when the police do have so much work, why are they going around enforcing acts that were created over 60 years ago in the time we were still ruled by the British, such as the Excise Act, I think. And
I hope that no British fellow is here.
And my question is, what problem does the police have with the youth that they're stomping down on nightlife the way that they are?
This is the problem with today's youth. You must have read a lot in today's press about the alleged circular which was issued by one of my officers. And yesterday we issued corrected the version. Today, very, very senior editor of a paper I spoke to, he was posing the same kind of the question to me. I asked him very, very simple question to him. Would you like your own daughter, your own sister to move around in that way in isolated places? Would you like? He had no answer. We want freedom for others, but not for our own daughters and sisters. That kind of the mentality we have. We want our women are safe. And the safety and security must be ensured. If you read, I'm speaking from this US consulate, this compound, even yesterday also, perhaps yesterday or day before, the New York City Police Commissioner, he issued an advisory to the people of New York. These are the places which are unsafe. We cannot provide you security. Please don't go there. But nobody in such an independent country, such a liberal country, nobody criticized police commissioner. Here, if we advise something, it is taken, oh, Mumbai city is very, very liberal. Police has to be very, very liberal. Some people will write, police should not do moral policing. I ask, should we do immoral policing? But what is given in the law, what is legal, what parents want, what society wants, what has been given in the law, we are enforcing it. If you want to change it, we will be very happy. Whatever law is passed by the parliament, we will enforce it. I agree with you that there is a need to amend our laws. Some of our laws, they are very, very, very archaic. We also want it. But unless it is changed, you please suggest some better ways to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Satyapal.
Thank you very much.
We have,
Only one question.
we have time for only one more question. If
Excuse
someone
me?
could raise their hand.
I can't see the face. There is so much of interest.
Sir, right here at the back.
Ah.
Right here.
Ji.
In this. Yes, sir, good evening. Actually, my question is actually more regarding urban society and living in a metropolis. You see, I have complete respect for the fact that the police in Mumbai are highly overworked and, through perception, understaffed to an extent. Now, through my personal face-to-face interaction with a lot of the local police officers, I've seen a lot of them are from places like Beed, Sangli, Nanded, Nashik, Ratnagiri, etc., all across Maharashtra in essence. But what I've seen is that there's actually a limitation on the number of people who have been born, brought up and bred, who fit into the police category, who have lived their life in Mumbai, who understand the society, understand the implementation of law in an urban divide. So my ultimate question is, what is the scope for narrowing the divide of rural employment in the police force by accepting a larger urban employment amongst, say, the mobilized masses of a youth, like about 2 or 3 people, say, in this crowd randomly, who would be able to put their life on the line for certain sections of police force, provided they are fit and able?
I would like to reply in this way. Unfortunately or fortunately, our law does not discriminate between the rural policing and urban policing. Laws are the same. Yes, I agree with you. The kind of the policing you require in a metropolis like Mumbai has to be different from a place like Beed or Jalna. It is a very officer-oriented police force in big cities. But as far as this thing is joining the police department, I don't know if you know, the police becomes perhaps at the lower rank of our policeman, basically police constable. If they don't get any other employment, they come to the police. It is not the first choice, perhaps it is one of the last choices. It is a very thankless job, you will agree. People are not very happy, but they have nothing else to do. They don't get employment, or they get recruited in the police department. But as far as police is concerned, especially for the cities, to understand the pulse of the city, to understand the urban culture, because lot of our policemen, they come from rural background, lot of training, in-service, basic training, in-service training, lot of this sensitization is required, and it takes time for changing the organization culture. The kind of the policing we have inherited, the kind of the police culture we have inherited, it requires a lot of time, and I don't know how much time it will take. But if the persons like you, intellectuals in the society, they all come together for a better sustained development, police will also change, law will also change, and we will have a much, much better, safer tomorrow.
On that note, thank you so much, Dr. Satyapal Singh.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you all and God bless you all.